Well, so we had some fun last time. I had a bit more fun than I usually do with these. Maybe got like a little bit wacky or whatever. But one thing I wanted to say real quick was that basically to me, what I was saying with the revealing of the moon, I wasn't saying that we just realized now with Biden going on vacation that he's not really in charge, and Klaus Schwab and the WEC is in charge, etc., etc. That was so not what I was saying. Uh, so basically, what I want to clarify is that just that even in Davos, Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and all those guys, like I was saying, as much as it doesn't feel good to have to say, like Russia and Ukraine and a lot of the gun action that's going on right now, the gun atrocities, I should say, and horrors of these mass shootings. What tends to happen is people will latch up to one of these nodes and they will say the rest is distraction. And this is the core of the heart of what's going on that we all need to pay attention to in order to get to the real solutions. And that's uh, I almost skirted on. I didn't quite, but I want to avoid doing that when it comes to what went on in Davos. Not saying that President Biden is going on vacation because we're now the moon is revealing with everything that I just saw in the zodiac and in the skies that Klaus Schwab and the WEC were finally realizing is in charge. Everybody knew that corporations and the rich who run all the corporations, etc., are like the real golden robes. You might say the real modern priesthood behind the modern day kings, which are presidents and prime ministers, etc., etc. So we're not just now discovering through what I brought up with this whole thing. Of course, we're not just now discovering that it's really the corporations that are in charge. Oh, thanks for uploading that, John. Now we can finally get back to running the earth the right way. Wasn't so was not like about that. That wasn't the gist of why I was even saying that, but that's a distraction too, actually. What happened in Davos was a distraction too. It might look like the distraction is going on so that Klaus Schwab and company can do their thing, uh, unfettered. But the reality is we get really get to the heart of the matter is that's a distraction. Uh, Even that is a heavily orchestrated pawn within a pawn within a pawn uh, to what is actually going on, like, and what's actually being revealed with the moon. So, and not just the moon, because that would be just giving up your power to something external, and that's not what I'm doing. A heavenly body, and I was able to pick up on something that went on with like basically there was sort of a reaction about it with the whole the moon, the lowest light possible, the lesser light possible, the lessest light possible, the weakest light, and that's what you're going on. That's what your big helper to attain what's going on around here is. And no, it's the moon is just one more facet of a window of basically archetypes as the mother and everything in the zodiac, what the moon stands for, which can be like the parentals, mother, especially the womb, the security of the home and like instincts, and yeah, not just where we live in our house around us, like our room, but our home, sort of within us, where we feel comfortable within ourselves. So yeah, I just felt like that was kind of important to mention to bring up because I don't want to portray that I'm espousing this whole doctrine or whatever that okay, so once we all get on the same page that Klaus Schwab is a douchebag or something like that, and he runs the whole world, and the World Economic Forum is, once we look past all the distractions according to John's chart reading here and stuff like that, once we look past all the distractions and we go round up Klaus Schwab and all his buddies, then the world is going to run the way we think it's supposed to. Because, of course, that is so not the case. And the thing is, it's like those who thought they were going to cure the world once they got rid of Donald Trump. Look what's going on now. Is it what went on in Station Mercury that I talk about? I talk about it with Belial. It was a close encounter, to say the least, a close encounter that I had that left deep scarring and trauma that I still get over with. So day to day, I take it day to day, and you will hear in there, and I even say in Station Mercury, even though I defeated and I was victorious in that, yeah, I'm not saying I'm a badass victorious. I feel like I lived to see another day. So I lived to meet my Jessica, and therefore I thank God every single day, because I lived to meet my Jessica, my twin flame. That's the main thing. What I wanted to say with that whole incident in Station Mercury is, like I was saying, I even mention it in there, is you'll hear one of the most recent episodes I'm talking about my incident, my confrontation with this very dark entity. We are talking, if I can say, next level dark entity in a confrontation, to where it's not just a shadow archetype by any means. We're talking scary next level shit that even I didn't think I would ever find myself in. But when I was victorious, again, loosely termed, basically something else comes in and takes that on, and I think even becomes the next Belial entity. Does that make sense? Almost like If I Can Help You, how in the Bible the morning star is, remember in the Bible Lucifer is called a morning star. Yeah, with Christ overcoming and overcoming death and hell, and the essentially earning the keys to over death and hell and those mysteries, and putting those in check for those to be able to pass safely through those valleys without fear and anxiety, and being in the grip of being spit back through the amnesia, where where they're juiced, they're loosed, the loosh is juiced, and they're just put back through the turnstile and beaten the hell out of through the juggernaut. So basically, yeah, so I don't, please understand, I am not a moon worshiper, etc., etc. I am not staking all this on, the fate and the destiny is portrayed by the moon sphere, which is really like the feminine divine, therefore my fallen angel goddess, whatever, that I've misunderstood. So can we get on the same page about that? I just wanted to mention that so people know who I am and what my heart is, where I come from, is I upload these. I'm not a moon worshiper or even a sun worshiper. I realize that all of these are living interdimensional, like living conscious elements that are parts of ourselves, all across a table, you might say, and we can work with them. On the upside, on the lower side, we get pulled under by the misunderstanding and misuse of them, to where something is externalized and projected that ends up owning us, I might say. So what was I gonna say else real quick? This is a shorter one. This was just to basically mention that is but so that's a distraction too. What was up in Davos and Klaus Schwab and friends, that's a distraction too. That's a pawn within a pawn within a pawn, and they are sitting there saying, we are in control of the future, we're the ones who control the world, it's up to us when we tame the world global boom that's going on now, through these certain nefarious means, and it's okay for us to do it because to us we're the chosen, and then there's us, there's many people making the very same mistake in their great reset outside the habit of time to the novel of time, and their misinterpretations. Basically what's going on that they're totally getting wrong too is just the same thing when they're like, oh, Klaus Schwab and friends, they think they're the chosen, but we know we're the chosen. We know we're the chosen. Just hold to that. Hold to that. Do not question it. You know, you better maintain that, balls to the wall. You best believe we're the chosen, and the minute you question that, you're questioning all of us who decided we're part of this brotherhood. And that's part of how what I survived that I talk about. I survived. Barely was the whole do not question, you know, balls to the wall. We are the chosen. We are the few who rule the many. That's what they do. And that's, you know, as you get deeper and deeper, you start to, even though you don't feel good about it in your heart, you do start to repeat those words and be like, these guys over here are watching me. And if they see that little thing behind my eyes, way, way, way to the back of my pupils even, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but where it looks like if I don't just blurt these words out believing it, I'm going to get taken out. You know, they're going to see, they're going to call me a fake and a phony. And what if I am a fake and a fraud and a phony? You know? So, but just about anything you can name on the global stage, it's actually a distraction before something else that's going on underneath it. And if you were to get rid of Klaus Schwab and hunt down him and the WEC guys so that you think the world will work as a utopia, something else will take its place that will probably be worse. And something else is probably already doing what it needs to do to say Klaus Schwab is inefficient and not getting this right, so is doing what it needs to do to try to be like, well, we need something more fascist and get up in charge over there on top of that. So you see what I mean? And then that would be a distraction towards something else. And what's really going on underneath it all, something else meta under that is as you go to what's less of a distraction under that that's really, you never actually see it in this 3D density of a world's stage. The stage is excuse me, I'm sorry, is it if you can name it, and it's a distraction to the point there's stuff you can name that's still not even really taking shape so much, that's running things behind the curtains, that's running things here on Earth as much as possible behind the curtains. And even it's a distraction to something else. But all that, as you go deeper and deeper, what I was going to say is it plans to the nth degree, millennia on top of millennia. Each as you go deeper and deeper, it's all planning further outside the circles of what it knows is not even the real construct of time anyway. So yeah, and like I was saying, we got rid of so much before in the past that we thought was okay. Now we're going back to the world running the way it should run if it's enlightened and going smooth, etc., etc., and it's going the way we think it ought to if it's fair and equal, and there are no special people. No, if I can use a term, let me dork out a bit. Great virginces in the Force. Yes, I said it. Sorry, I kind of grew up on Star Wars, and I have one arm. I was born missing an arm, and I have some freaky, weird, dimensional, perceptional stuff going on. So you might say I kind of grew up with Star Wars a bit. So you'll have to forgive me and be a bit patient with me with my wizard staff logo up at the top there. But so who really is in the control seat? In the distraction of meta, it's like it's an echo chamber. Who's really in the control seat under that? That's seeing outside the circles of time, where they're saying what thinks it's the king is really the pawn, and has a very limited aspect of time. And then the Tesseract makes its little move where the bottom of the cube moves to the top of the cube, and the top of the cube seems to go on the outside back to, you know, and it keeps doing that to where who's more out, who's sorry, from the last video, you gotta watch that to get the joke, but yeah, who's on the outside of the circles of time compared to who thinks they're in the driver's seat, to where they're actually a pawn. And then that is actually just a pawn, and it's thought it was in charge. You see what I'm saying? And that itself is a big vicious cycle too. So But that's the thing, is no one's really in the driver's seat. No one's really in the driver's seat. And you'll say, yes, it is. It is my, and then place the name of your God here. Or if your God is primarily in what you believe or have gnosis of, or what have you, is stationed in a power position off this earth, because in your definitions of things, this earth is so out of control and chaotic and miserable, as many do have, then you will say, well, what's really in the control seat is this evil agent or that evil agent, who is the antithesis of all things. I particularly believe in my branch of it, because like I was saying in the last upload, like, essentially, is those in the same religion don't believe in each other, and they all fight, like infighting. And Buddhists have beliefs that fight, and they like argue with other Buddhists even, and say they, and even when they don't argue, because that's one of the most not Buddhist things you can possibly do in lots of times, in lots of cases, not all cases, but they just say, well, they say that branch of teaching has very little chance of attaining liberation in this lifetime. That's what they tend to do. Whereas the more Western side say that other branch has very little chance of escaping serving some sort of Dark Lord or a satanic agent or shadow being, hierarchy at the top of the hierarchy or just under the top of the hierarchy. So yeah, you get what I'm saying. But basically, is who's really in the control seat, is life itself. And what we've all found is we all have very different terms, even when we agree on the same page, where there's still infighting with what we've generally decided to agree upon. Is there's always people saying something else is in the control seat. And I'm not here to sit here and tell you who's in the control seat. What I'm here to tell you, though, is that I feel we all have the opportunity to co-create who is going to end up in our driver's seat, and that includes those who very much feel that nobody is about to be in that driver's seat, and they may end up waking up to an illusion. And I'm not here to solidify that for you and calcify that for you. So I can't do that. I've already taken a lot of my stances in the last videos here. So if you're following, then you follow, like the stances I come from, but I'm not here to take over your brain for you and walk for you. Like I can hopefully help a few people up here and there, but I'm not here to walk for anybody, So, but basically, so yeah, the whole who is really in the control seat game here in this density that we call a reality, as the habit timeline is being heavily affected and shifting and changing by multiple timelines, in great resets, plural, is just who is really in the control seat here manifested in this world, if you ask me, is going to end up an Antichrist, the Antichrist agent, if not. So is what I'm saying. That itself is a distraction too, just the constant need to get on the same page, to manifest who is the control seat here in this world, I think is a great misunderstanding of those who've imparted the best spiritual teachings while they were alive and walked the face of this earth, or are still alive, just not walking the face of this earth right now, or are still walking the face of this earth, just have gone through sets of ordeals and come back as they promised they would, or in the very beginning stages of coming back as they promised they would, and just more ubiquitous and effective, but more subtle and nuanced. So yeah, basically, and the reason I'm uploading this is something that happened last night, and oh my god, I could turn this into another 3 hours video, and that's not what I'm trying to do. So I'm already hitting 20 minutes, but So yeah, I'll come back to other stuff, but yeah, there was a big thing that went on last night with me, and it was uncomfortable, and I woke up from it, and it took direct work, and I felt it was from my last hour and a half, an upload before that, and I was heavy under it. I won't say what it is. The minute I start saying what it is, this goes on and on and on, and I'm like, well, I've described this much, I gotta go a bit further. Well, I've described that much, I gotta go a bit further. So, but yeah, so that's just what I wanted to say for now. I'm going to leave it at that. But that's what I was saying, is just the moon thing, and the moon opposite Pluto retrograde. I wasn't saying, oh, Biden's gone on vacation, and that just happened in Davos. The moon is now revealing that corporations are actually in charge, everybody. Did you know that? Did you know the elite who run the corporations in the military-industrial complex, it's actually them. I just found out they're running the show. John Doe has the upper hand now. No. So, yeah. Basically, but you get it, is what I'm really saying that I never even put into that last video was what I just said just now about the whole figuring out who physically in this manifesting the actuated world, if you have the creative world and the archetypal world and the formative world, and then you have the actuating world. So if you take the actuating world, if you're saying 3D wise, this is manifesting in the tesseract, in the very heart of the tesseract, the great globe hypercube tesseract. This is manifesting right now in the heart of it, and is the collective that's all pulled up, and it's finally manifesting. Then probably what you're dealing with is Antichrist. That's what we're talking about. So projection, and something that's willing to take on the projection. And it's basically it's a distraction of who's behind the driver, who's in the driver's seat, who's behind the wheel of all this. And basically you can get sort of pwned, or if not pwned, you can get you get zoned, you get zapped or something. I don't know what to say. It's kind of long-winded to get into it. But yeah, it jolts you, it jars you, and don't be doing this stuff and doing good things just for celebrity. And I'm not, because when you do this sort of stuff, and to me this is not red pilling people even. This is not red pilling people, and this is not awakening. I'm very not afraid to have blue as my background and blue theme, because lots of people are using red just because they're like, and now I need to market the right way, which is to match the wavelength of the red pill. So, and it's just, they get lost in confusion, and assumptions, and they end up right back under the sway of the very hierarchy that they claim that they are out to smash. So what I was saying is just that thing at the very core of that tesseract, like I was just trying to say, is manifesting. It is like basically even Davos and what was going on there with the World Economic Forum, and that the moon is not illuminating on them. That's not what I'm saying. The moon is not illuminating on them as in charge. That is so important. Is the illumin part, which is not to be confused with Illuminati, the illumination of the moon and what's going on with the softest wearing away at the hardest, and the just the thick iron veil is what the moon can wear away at, is the softest, but that the illumination is who really is in the control seat. And once you think you remove who shouldn't be in that control seat, it's always going to be replaced by the next distraction that's unfortunately quite possibly even bigger and badder, like we got to with the whole, then it goes out in the desert, and for a time it goes out in the desert while you have a clean house, and it collects more of itself and even says what just happened to reconvene and form up a more badass strategy and set of tactics and come back to you when the house is clean. And even more preferable because you took the time to set the house up even better the next time, basically. And it makes it more fun to them to just kick the shit out of everything, you know, and inhabit it in an even worse, just more infesting way the next time around. So, but yeah, even that gets replaced too. Even that is distraction, and you thought it wasn't charging; it was just a pawn. And then the something else that comes along, you thought it was in charge, and it's just the pawn within the pawn. And then the thing outside of that, you thought was all right, we've got it. The distractions are cleared. This is really what we need to focus in on and hone in on. Outside of ourselves, always, right? Outside of ourselves, though. So yeah, you get it, and then that's the distraction too. It's wearing a crown that looks like a king. It's really a pawn. So, and then just again, finally, just about you can name it on the global stage. It's distraction before something else underneath that. So I'll just leave it that for right now because I'm gonna upload more later, and who knows, it might be another hour and a half. So yeah, let's leave it at that for now, and everybody take care. John signing out.